All right, we're on limited time this morning. I woke up this morning, Hans, reading news articles about Black Lives Matter, the police issues in the States, the issue of, they're calling, people in Black Lives Matter calling for defunding the police. And it's a major topic. It's a very complex topic. But I'm really excited about that aspect of it, defunding the police. Not like, okay, let's just fire all the cops and dismantle the police force completely and then pay for no protection or police. Not that, but I'm really, really excited that we're having a really big and deep discussion about the abuses of the police forces. And it's becoming so politicized that it's difficult to have a nuanced conversation about it, because some people will take a nuanced discussion to mean that you don't support people of color and things like this.
Well, that's big. Maybe that's what I always see, and that tires me when I think of like American issues.
Yes.
It's always like, it's either like they divide it along the like
for us or against us
party lines.
Yes,
and it's like you're either 100% for Trump or 100% against, or you're 100, like the issues are very complex, and you want to,
yes,
and it's like
so
tiring.
So there's all that's out there. My issue, and what's always the most important to me, is what about that lone individual human being in the system, So because this is a show we're talking about men, especially young men, what about those young men having the interactions with the police? And let's talk about the young black men. I can say for myself, as someone who, for a lot of my youth, went around with a shaved head. I held my head high. I didn't apologize, in front of the cops. I didn't supplicate. I didn't, whatever. I always respected myself. And for sure, if I was a black man, I would be perhaps even doubly like unapologetic and not, gonna bow my head. But that would invite even more aggression from the cops than what I got. No doubt. And I think, yes, there's, are there racist cops, prejudiced cops? Yes. There's so many issues to talk about, but I think one of the fundamental, I think a lot of the issues are things that allow the culture of the American police to basically just feel like they are the shit. No one can question them. No one can, if you don't immediately submit, I'm not even talking about physically, just like on a tone of voice or immediately comply.
Yes.
If you dare to even stand up for your rights, which America is supposed to be about rights and freedoms, then they feel justified and validated in amplifying their aggression.
That's interesting, because, and it may be changing in Europe, my recollection of that, an idea of police was always like more there at the service, I said this probably before, but like when I think of a police, that's the guy I ask where to go to, where's that road? And it's almost like in the States, you almost don't do it because you want to avoid interaction with your boss or something.
Yeah. Well, there are many great men and women who are police officers, and I think take their role. They're not in that kind of combative way, but it's a role that attracts a lot of people who are otherwise don't have a position of status or authority.
Or you can,
and they can get it instantly, and they have a badge and they have a gun and they can walk around and enforce, little tiny laws and rules with the force of their gun.
You say it attracts I'm not into these things, you know this, but you say it attracts a certain kind of people, but maybe it's a culture that cultivates a certain kind of behavior, you know, like the
police force or America.
Yeah, or the whole situation, the role of police in American society could cultivate a certain approach to things and a manner of dealing with things. Or
yeah, for sure. It's a huge, complex issue. I mean, all of our movies about good guys and bad guys and cops and robbers, and we kind of glorify the conflicts that we have with the police.
We see these movies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah.
But what I really want to talk about is that individual guy. Because if I was a young black man, and my advice would be, what I hate is when I hear people say, just do what they say, just obey them, just respect anything that they say, and you won't have problems. That advice annoys the fuck out of me. Because like for a young man, whether of any color, one of the things you and I do on this show is we're essentially advising young men how to be in the world.
Yes.
And one of the things I would say is respect yourself and don't let people disrespect you. And I would apply that to the police as well. Like don't train yourself to be someone who just submits to authority. That is a plan to live a life of compromise, have more and more people disrespect you, a life of unhappiness, and I mean, it's just a downward spiral.
And contribution to the killing of others.
But the problem is, if you really stand up for yourself at that level, you're going to put yourself at the risk of a lot more conflict in life and a lot more threat from authority figures, especially in a situation like America, and especially if you are a minority, or I would say it applies very much also to the poor white males who dress like thugs or dress to communicate that they are not part of the system whatsoever. They'll attract plenty of attention themselves. But one of the things that I said I did is I just got the fuck out of there. Like I used to stand up for myself constantly, stand up. Man, it was like a magnet for conflict. And then I left, and it was like, oh, what a great solution.
No kidding. But it is, because I see the parallels with like lockdown and wearing masks and all that, because I mean, by now there's enough scientific evidence either side of the debate, like you can make up your mind what you want to do, and I hear someone just wear a mask, just why, and then they repeat the narration of the government or whatever they say. And so like, no, you can make up your own mind. There's enough. No, it's killing. And like, it's just baffling to me that I share the same kind of like, what the fuck?
Well,
Wake the fuck up. It's like,
I want to say we got the great Thad Crouch out there watching this right now. Thad, what's up, brother? Thad is someone who has stood up in the face of so much and so many.
Is that the story of the family? He went to the wedding and spoke to the... No?
No.
Okay.
No, you met Thad. He's a fellow shaved head.
Okay.
Bearded guy, warrior for conscience.
We talked about that.
Yes.
I told my father that I love him. There you go. That was not him.
Not the guy.
Damn it! I thought that was the guy with the chat.
No.
Fuck. Forget it about it, okay?
I don't love my dad.
But I share the same kind of, like, don't just do what people say. I was watching a video of Jordan Peterson yesterday, and he talked about the story of, like, let's never forget the Nazi story. And he says, let's never forget. And he says, what is it that we should never forget? And he says, what we should never forget is you are the Nazi. Like, you are the Nazi when put in a certain context and you start listening to that external authority, and you're not making up your own mind, that you're the Nazi.
Yeah.
We're so easily following the herd,
and not just the following the herd, but being so like morally superior.
Yes.
About who the bad guys are.
Exactly.
That then it justifies our Nazi-like behavior. And you can
do the controlling.
You can do that whether you're black or white.
Yes.
You can do that of any religion. And but
I remember like the first weeks of the coronavirus, I was very scared also, And then with growing, I saw more and more scientific studies that question the severity and also question the lockdown measures. And I would just post them, and the reactions I got from people, that it was irresponsible to just put that, to put the facts out there, that from other scientists, that was irresponsible.
Yes.
And so there was a constant controlling, and I had battles, with people that are friends or family, and you're like, the fuck?
Yes. Well, part of what I think this is human beings, we used to live in very small groups,
yes.
Very small groups. And it's pretty easy if you have a very small group for everyone to have a voice, everyone to feel like their concerns are out there, and you come up with some kind of, this is how we're going to do things in this little community. But the bigger it gets, and with the internet and everything, not only do you have a country like with the US of 300 plus million people, very diverse backgrounds, opinions, beliefs, trying to moralize everyone else their behavior. Mm-hmm. But you have, it's now global, with so much of the world, for example, speaking the same language, English, with so much of the world watching the same shows, listening to the same celebrities, following the same politicians. It's now like this global community. And now the moralizing that might happen in a community of 150 from someone that that you can talk to and explain stuff to and work stuff out with, is now like global.
Yes.
And we're all trying, people who have no relationship to you or very little are trying to moralize you how to do you.
Well, I got a question about that. I got two questions. One, I would like to get back to that black guy and what should he do? Because I'm very interested in your response to that. Like the stand up. But first, maybe, aren't we also, when we're saying listen to your inner authority and don't follow, and we get angry, aren't we also moralizing? Aren't we also putting our own moral system on other people? And are we just part of the battle? You understand what I mean? That we are.
You could be. It depends how you're going about it.
Right.
But not necessarily.
Right. I can see where it's going.
It's not as if I could be very easily like in judgment of others judging, right? And being in such a way that they shouldn't do that. But
it's so funny that I go there, because that's exactly what I do.
Yes.
Yes.
Tell me about it. But it's
now you were doing it.
Yes. But it's hugely a question of effectiveness,
Yes.
So for example, with the Black Lives Matter movement, there are some very important stands that they're making and people that they're standing for, causes that they're fighting for. But if they go about it from a superior, like morally superior position,
and if you're not with us, you're against us.
Yeah, to where no one else is allowed to have their own independent thought, feeling, experience, anything. They'll get more, to a certain extent, they'll persuade a certain amount of people to go along with them and conform their behavior and submit. Just like the police officer who's being very authoritarian will get a certain percentage of people to bow down and submit. But they're also going to, just like the police do, they're going to escalate the conflict against them from that approach.
Yes, and
just to link this to yesterday's conversation, this is the positionary place that they're coming from as opposed to the stand. They draw a distinction.
Okay, But what you're doing now is like, yes, and it seems to me that this is just a group dynamic. It's the dynamic of a group. No matter what group, whether it's the police or it's a nation or it's an whatever, or Black Lives Matter group, it's the dynamic of the group. And what you're doing, you also, is contributing to that by saying they, as if there is one group movement there, you know? And so I think that's it's much more a group dynamic instead of criticizing, say, the Black Lives Matter movement because it is not distinguishing, and it's I see a real dynamic of a group, of any group. And so what really matters to me is on the individual level what to do. And so maybe back to the
just to address that point is, this happens in divorces. This happens between countries going to war. This is very much a human dynamic. It's but of course, what's playing out in the big news and the culture wars and everything right now is the Black Lives Matter movement. So that's why I'm addressing that. I'm not pointing it. I'm not saying that's just a feature of them at all. It is a very human feature.
So yes, what does the solitary, the black dude in the system, what does he do? Because I think you got some good solutions for it. Well, I don't know. I'm hoping. Otherwise, we're a bit, people are on the edge of their seat.
You're asking me, a white guy, what should a black guy do? Come on, man. How racist can you get?
Black Lives Matter.
I just discovered you are a white supremacist.
That's right.
You are a white supremacist.
If you're not with me, you're against me. Well, I'm white, so I must be a supremacist.
Yes.
What is it? Oh.
I'm not going to speak to what should a black guy do, but the individual guy, when he's confronting the police, I don't have the what should he do, but I know that if you stand up and hold your head high, which for me, I mean, partly my personality, but because I think what's at risk, like we were talking about before, is if he becomes trained to be submissive and to not stand up for himself and his people and his values in those conflicts. That's a grave risk. That's how he becomes the prison guard in the Nazi camp, right? So you got to stand up for yourself. You have to stand up for yourself.
I'm not sure.
But standing up for yourself doesn't need to look the way that I did it or the way that some people do it, There are ways to respectfully stand up for yourself. Or to maybe, for example, you could let the cop run his egotistical show, and then you bring it back to have some kind of recourse, or film it or whatever, and then still stand for a change being made. Right? There's all kinds of different ways of standing up for yourself. But for me personally, I feel so much better that I just left. And that's something about our current world today, is probably never before has it been so easy to go and start a new life somewhere else.
Yes.
And I think this is a really big deal, because I think a lot of, especially Americans, feel like, well, if I leave, I'm betraying my people. I'm not a patriot. I'm a quitter. There's all these judgments on leaving, but sometimes that can be the most peaceful and beautiful thing, and thing that causes the most change. Imagine that, and there's an idea in
as soon as I'm almost say something, you're like, no.
Libertarian circles that in the future governments become they compete for people to actually come and pay them taxes. So if you have a government that's really authoritarian and abusive, everyone's going to be like, F you, we're out of here.
You choose your chiefs. Going back 5 minutes, it is interesting that I asked you, what should that black guy do being arrested by the cops, and you went to say, you got to leave. That might be misconstrued, maybe he can't leave in that moment. He stopped by the cops, leaving. I'm out of here, out of the country to Mexico. No,
that was your joke.
No, I wanted to say something else, but yeah, it's for further down the line. It's gone.
It's gone. So your thought left. It sensed a moment of
and I was gonna bring it, and you saw it coming, and you were like, it's gone. It was probably gold, but
probably. So.
Oh, it's the same thing with your parents. You could be there and be in conflict with your parents.
Yes.
And try to solve that as an adolescent and go through that and from within trying to solve it. And in terms of like relationships and life going forward, I always advise also go away. Get underneath the wings of your parents. Is the best thing you can do for you, for them, for your relationship.
Yes.
You go and you come back. Then
Yes. Yes.
You don't stay within the system trying to make it work because it's not working.
Yeah, especially if there's a situation where there's someone or a group or an entity with really deep entrenched power over you, and when you are a teenager in your parents' house and you have really authoritarian parents and all that, it can really be that situation. You're going to have very limited ability to change anything, through whining, complaining, negotiating, whatever. But if you leave,
yes,
you establish your own freedom, autonomy, and authority, then you can come back and as equals on an equal playing field, you can negotiate. But what a lot of us try to do, and because this is a show about men also, like men in a relationship with a woman will try to negotiate from being in the midst of the judgment and the conflict. And it typically just makes things worse. And one side can eventually submit and give in, but it's not going to be a great relationship.
Like in every great seduction, leave and come back is always better than to stay. It's like sex, If you just stay, it's not working. You gotta leave and come back.
Gotta go in and out, in and out.
If you want to save your family, leave and come back. If you want to save your country, and the love for it, leave and come back.
Maybe. What if? Something to think about.
Make America great again. Leave and come back.